What's up, everybody? What is up? What is up? It is Tuesday. So, you know what that means, right? It's Tuesday. So, that means it's time for another episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. So, here's what I need you to do. And I say this every week. I need you to strap in. I need you to buckle up. I need you to get ready to be a part of this experience, whether it is that you're watching live or you're watching in the replay. If you're watching live or watching the replay, I need you to jump in the comments. I need you to let me know that you're here. We have a fantastic guest today. We have some information that I want to share as well. And listen, it's what we do every Tuesday. If you're new to this, welcome. And we'll do another welcome once the show begins. But if you're not new to this, you already know what to expect. You know that we're going to be talking to great guests. You know that there's going to be fantastic information that is shared. You know that you're going to get encouraged as you travel on this journey of entrepreneurship that we're all on. So please do me a favor, share this with someone else. And again, strap in, get ready, buckle up, and let's get ready for another episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. Let's go. Hey, 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 we are back. We are back for another episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. I am your host, Oliver Marcel, author, speaker, and coach in the relationship building and men's enrichment empowerment space. And it's my goal to do what's on my t shirt. Let me show you what's on my t shirt. 2020 before hindsight. 2020 before hindsight is what you see on my t-shirt. 2020 before hindsight literally stands for my mantra as a human being. There are so many things that I've learned in hindsight. There's so many mistakes that I've made. There's so many things that have happened that have kind of thrown off the trajectory of my life or altered it in one way or another. And it is my goal to merely provide some level of guidance, some level of clarity, hence the 2020, some level of clarity on the front end. Because if I provide you some level of clarity on the front end, it may help you to avoid some things. Stop hanging out with some folks. Stop going to certain places. Begin to do certain things that will allow you to navigate your journey with some level of success. So that is me. I wrote a book entitled Overcoming the Man Laws for the man who wants to be his best despite what he was taught. And listen, I would love your support. You can get a t-shirt. This is actually my t-shirt. So if you look in the description of wherever you're watching this right now, you will see a way that you can support me by getting a t-shirt. There are other t-shirts there as well. You can support me by going to Amazon and searching my name in Amazon and grabbing a copy of the book. I would love your support. Thank you so much. Listen, we got folk that are already in the comments. We got people that are in the comments already. We have, and man, I should have been practicing this name. We have Akanksha in the comments. So listen, thank you for being here. Cheers, Oliver. This is going to be an insightful session. Yes, it will be. George is in the comments. Ready, steady, go. We are here. I love it. We are here. Listen, we got a great guest. All the guests have been great. So if this is your first time seeing this show, make sure that you go back, get every other episode, watch every other episode, get your pen and pad out, take notes because gems were dropped, encouragement was given, and you will get guidance that will help you on this journey of an entrepreneur. Because here's the thing, it is a journey, and we need to be able to enjoy the journey, embrace the journey, learn from the journey, and then share that with somebody else. And that's what this show is all about. We got Rob Howes in the house. All right, let's rock. Shout out to Rob. Listen, guys, if you're in here with me right now, please share this to your respective feeds. We want to get other people in here in this conversation. Listen, I'm talking to Heather Petty today. Now, I'm going to let Heather introduce herself, but Heather is a mentor, a coach, a trainer. Heather is a wealth of knowledge in several different areas. We're going to tap into her story today and get some insight from her. But as I always do in the beginning, I want to share a couple things with you. There is a I got one word that I want to put out there, and this has been a word that's been on my mind, on my heart for the last few days. That word is persistence. The word is persistence. And before I get into it, let me get some of these comments that are in here. In the language of universe called astrology, we call this clarity achieved, a great planetary transitional period. So happy you're sharing with us. That is so awesome. I love it. And listen, sharing is caring, right? Rob says embrace the journey. Embrace the journey. And part of embracing the journey is wrapped in your ability to be persistent. There's a level of commitment that you need if you're going to be an entrepreneur. You know what? Scratch that. Forget about being an entrepreneur. There's a level of commitment you're going to need just to navigate life as a great person. And commitment requires consistent effort. Consistent effort requires persistence. Now, if we take it into the context of the life of an entrepreneur, there are some things on this entrepreneurial journey. Listen, let me tell you, I'll be transparent. Those of you who know me and know me from the marriage enrichment and the corporate team building space, you know that I'm very transparent about my life. Now, this today is August 8th, 2023. On August 13, that will be 2 years to the date that I actually stepped out of the corporate space to do what I'm doing full time. I was doing it before, but I was still working in the corporate space. Let me tell you something about these last 2 years. These last 2 years, and I'll be honest, in these last 2 years, I was joking with somebody the other day. I said, in these last 2 years, I have given up 1,000 times, but I'm still here. Why am I still here? Because of that one word that says persistence. That doesn't mean that everything works out right. Consistent effort doesn't mean you get it right all the time. Consistent effort doesn't mean that it's a bed of roses, but consistent effort means that even if you take an L, in my book, there's a phrase that I say in my book, and in the book, I say you may sometimes have to take some L's, the letter L. You may have to take some L's in life. You may have to take some L's in order to win in your relationship. And I was putting it in the context of relationships. But you may have to take some L's on this journey, this life of an entrepreneur. But here's what persistence does. Persistence changes your perspective. Persistence takes those L's that you thought were losses and flips them into lessons. And you take that lesson and you apply that to the next leg of your journey. So I'm encouraging everybody who hears this today to be persistent. Be persistent. There is a quote that I read. I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to throw it on the screen. There's a quote that I read from Winston Churchill that says, success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Now, in order for you to do that, that means your perspective has to change. And that means that these failures or losses, what you need to do, I was telling a gentleman just yesterday, what you need to do now is take all the lessons, craft them into strategy that will allow you to replicate wins down the road. So that's my thought for you today. My thought for you today is to be persistent. Keep going. If you're just jumping into the entrepreneurship space, keep going. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how difficult you may think it is at the moment, keep going. For those of you who are 15, 20 years into the game, they'll tell you we still have to incorporate persistence into everything that we're doing. Part of you being persistent and being motivated and being encouraged and being supported to be persistent is to have some folk around you that can keep you accountable, that can support you, that can lift you up when you're not feeling the best. that can push you when you don't feel like you have anything left. And this program, as is every episode, is sponsored by a group called Love Entrepreneurs. And Love Entrepreneurs is a group of people that is dedicated to helping ordinary people build extraordinary businesses. You see the information on the screen there. And listen, if you're having some trouble around persistence, if you need some support, if you need some guidance, if you need some love, sometimes we just need somebody to just be like, hey, listen, man, I see you. You dope. I love what you're doing. Keep going. This is the place you want to be. Now they do something called the Big Fix. It's a signature dish, if you will, and we'll talk about the Big Fix in a little while once we get our guest in and have some conversation with her. But I had to share that with you. If you don't get anything else, and I know you're going to get a whole lot from this episode today, but if you don't get anything else, you got to stay persistent. All right. Listen, we got some folk in the comments. We got Barry in the comments. My buddy Barry, he and I had a great conversation yesterday, all the way from Trinidad and Tobago, which is the home of my father. My father's from Trinidad as well. So congratulations, he said as well. And that's congratulations for me coming up on the 2-year point of being in this thing neck deep. I've been in this thing neck deep. I was doing it before, but 2 years ago, I felt the call to take the leap of faith, and I did that. We got Brent in the house. My buddy Brent, good morning to you as well. Thank you for being here and being a part of this experience. Georgia says consistent, persistent, resistant, and insistent. I love it. And laugh a lot. And laugh a lot. Lenore Jones is in the house. Listen, Lenore Jones, shout out to Lenore Jones. Lenore is running a fantastic business. If you don't know that name and you like, who is that? You need to connect with her ASAP. All right. We got some great folk in here. Barry, Akanksha is in here. All of these folk that you see jump into the comments, make sure that you're just not bypassing their comments. Make sure that you are looking up who they are and that you're reaching out to them. Hey, listen, man, I saw you. Or, hey, listen, I saw you on that show, The Life of an Entrepreneur. I'd love to connect with you and have a conversation. Okay. Because part of this is about building community. Love Entrepreneurs is about building community. And what's the point of seeing all of these names pop up on the screen if you're not going to be willing to reach out and create community? All right. So that's what we have to say about that. Listen, I did a lot of talking today. Normally, I don't talk this long before we bring our guest on. We got a phenomenal guest coming in today. Listen, Heather is a business optimization strategist. We're going to talk about what that is. I love that. That's a really like presidential term right there. So we need to see what that's about, right? But she is in business development. She is a home-based entrepreneur. She's a mentor. Listen, we're going to talk to her. And you know what? I don't have all of my ducks in a row today for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. But before I got to make sure I have my applause here before I actually bring Heather on, right? We can't bring her on without applause. So let me get 1 second. Let me get myself together for 1 second so I can get these applause so that we can bring Heather in. So without further ado, I got my friend Heather coming in to speak with us. Heather Petty is in the house. How are you, Heather? Thank you so much for taking some time out to be here with me and hang out with me today. It means a lot.
Yeah, lovely to be here and see you on another screen. Yes, good to see
Yes, on another screen. Yes, we've had many conversations and they've been all great conversations. And listen, I before we jump in, you know, I said a couple terms and words to describe who you are, but let us know who you are and what you do, and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Well, I'm Heather Petty, and I have had an incredible ride through this life that I've been blessed with many twists and turns. My background, very briefly, is I come from an education background, supporting educationists in various different settings to support staff and children who have significant additional needs. However, I left that journey about 10 years ago now, and did some self personal development, NLP master practitioner, psychotherapy. I've always been a coach. However, that didn't flip my switch, because yes, you can make a change with somebody sitting in front of you, but long term, do you know that you've actually significantly impacted that person? And then I found I was being taken in another direction to help people, totally different sector, and primarily helping people have more money at the end of their month. That then led me to reaching out. Did you have any of you here heard of the term me? Now, not me, but me, MII, multi income individuals. Now, I don't know where you are listening in the world, but in the UK, which is where I live, 1 in 3 adults have an additional income. They need an additional income. Now, be that as it may, back in my grandmother's day, that was normal. That was what people did. My nana, I, as we called her, she worked at Nabisco, which you maybe heard of shredded wheat.
Mm-hmm.
So she worked at a Nabisco factory. She took in laundry for people and ironing. She did sewing. She had a lodger, and she did some cleaning. So she had multiple incomes. Then I don't know about where you are. In the UK, we got a little bit snobby, and we would look down on people and think, oh, you need to drive a taxi at night. Don't you earn enough money from what you do in your day job? And now the tables have turned completely, because in case you've been living under a rock recently, the economy worldwide is pretty shabby, and people are not doing well financially, which then knocks onto their emotions, knocks onto their relationships. Enter Oliver, which then knocks onto their marriages and the stress and the anxiety. So the bottom line to me with people is their financial situation. So I'm in the business now. I've been in the business for a lot of years, helping people have more money at the end of their month by optimizing their income and expenditure. And interesting, when I came in, persistence, that was the word that's been with me all day. Lord, persistence. I have read a book called Grit.
Mm-hmm.
Grit. If you haven't read it,
Great book.
read it. My mother, who sadly passed away 2 days ago, she said that my middle name should be Determined, because she said she's never come across a more determined individual. If I set my mind to something, that's it. If I believe something is good, honorable, honest, and I go for it, I will not leave it. And so, yes, I think I need to change my name. It's a bit of an odd one, but and a little saying that I have up in front of me where I work from home. I have to say, I work from home. Uh, Time freedom is something that cannot be, you can't put a price on it. Time freedom is just such a precious thing. And if you're in corporate or you go 9 to 5 or whatever else, you have no idea what is on the other side of that wall. But I have a little sign up. It says, be here a year from now. So you say that to yourself every day. Be here a year from now. Life has ups and downs, twists and turns. You lose people, you hurt people, you have regrets. Be here a year from now. People let you down, people treat you badly. Be here a year from now. And if you have that as your daily mantra, you will not fail ever. And failure, I believe, there is no failure. It's just failure is your journey to success. So it's about your mindset. Are you Are you going down the road of victim mentality, or are you going down the road of success, solution focused mentality? And that's where I come from. That's where I position myself. So Opal Optimizer is my name of my business. Opal because it's my birthstone. Optimizer because I help people to optimize looking at their dreams, their goals, but more importantly, their skills, their interests, their passions. Because if you don't draw them in to what you're doing, you're looking in the wrong direction. And
Wow.
this was all triggered by seeing we had a very brief period of maybe 2 or 3 days of hot weather over here. And I saw this man on a bicycle with a green box on his back saying Deliveroo. And he was cycling up this steep hill, sweating buckets, probably delivering cooked chicken to somebody who couldn't be bothered getting in their car and going and picking it up. And it just struck me, and I take it as a word, just struck me. I've had a light bulb moment. Is that really what he wants to do? Has he even thought about it? Or is it a desperate reach out? I need more money. And guess what? You don't need to apply, you don't need to fill in forms, you don't need to have an exam to be Deliveroo. So it's an easy buck, but it is just a buck or two if you're lucky. You might get a tip from them who you're taking it to. Or has he just not thought about it? He's not got anybody that's helped him to drill down. So that's what I do. I help people to drill down, look inside themselves, and draw out their best.
Wow, that's good. You've already just in introducing yourself have already uh have already dropped some wisdom for us. You saw in the comments, in life there is no failure, only feedback. I love that in the comments. Um Listen, so I want to take you back a little bit because there are some, typically in my experience, there's always something you can point back to that becomes the catalyst, the motivator, if you will, for you to move into this entrepreneurial space. First of all, before we get into that, let me just say, since you brought it, I didn't want to bring it up unless you said something, but definitely, on behalf of myself and the show and Love Entrepreneurs, we extend sincere condolences to you and your family in the loss of your mom. That's very fresh, and I almost and I reached out to you because I was like, I don't know if Heather is should probably do this show. And it's interesting. Heather's response was, "My word is my word." So I just want to just thank you for that, and just extend those condolences to you and your family during this time. We'll be praying for peace and comfort on your behalf and on behalf of the rest of the family. So I just wanted to put that. I didn't want to gloss by that because that is a major life event. So thank you for being here in spite of that. Um, but now I want to go back to, not but I want to go back to uh, how the journey started for you. You know, there's people, their journey starts out of pain. There's people that their journey starts out of some level of necessity. There's people whose journey just start out of curiosity. So, what was the path that led you into the entrepreneurial space?
Okay, so go back probably 35 years, and I had my fourth child.
Okay.
I didn't have a very easy time bringing children into this world, but my fourth child, I was really out of it. I was kept sedated for a few days. When I eventually came to, on and off, I realized, well, my child had Down syndrome. Now, we had no idea. And by the time my husband connected with her, and she was absolutely amazing. She is one amazing individual, and she's actually my business partner. However, okay, journey starts. I'm a teacher at the time of children with special needs. So you know what? God knows which families to put these children into. She couldn't have had, supposedly, a better start. And so I went to work. Oh, yeah. 10 years down the line, my husband dies quite fairly suddenly. He had a catastrophic incident, shall we say. 6 months later, to the day he died, left me with four young children. I was a teacher. I was actually teaching peripatetically as a portage teacher at the time. If you know what they are, they go around people's homes with very very young babies who have significant disabilities and help the parents to get that child off to the best start in life. So that's what I did. Um, so the years go on. I needed to have a good job. I needed to have security. I needed to have a good income to bring my four kids to adulthood, independent adulthood. That day came. My youngest son graduated. He started his first job the day after his graduation ceremony. And I thought, okay, I had a little bit of a gloat and I thought, job well done. Yeah. And I have to admit, I felt pretty proud of myself, to be honest, that I'd done it.
As
I'd
you
done
should.
it myself. 6 weeks later, I worked for the local authority. I've worked for two local authorities at central services, supporting teachers to support children and supporting parents to support children. So a crossover between education and social services. And 6 weeks later, they asked for volunteers for redundancy. Well, I didn't even compute what they were saying, but apparently my nail marks are in the ceiling. and then, and afterwards I thought, Heather, what have you done? What have you just done? Because this was my security. This is what I've needed for so many years. And I'm a woman of faith, and I just felt the Lord saying to me, you don't need that level of stress anymore. You don't need that income anymore. Oh, okay. So, and then relying on what I humanly knew, okay, I've been teaching, I've been training, I've been coaching. I will go and do my NLP. I will go and do psychotherapy, which we're talking about years, not just a little piddly course. Um, but I wasn't satisfied, and you know why? Because I wasn't looking in the right direction. I was relying on my human self, and when I stopped and looked at it, Utility Warehouse came to me, and I'd heard about it before. This is a company in the UK that supplies people with their essential services at a lot less cost because they're ethical, they don't advertise, and it's just amazing. And I'd heard about it before and kind of poo-pooed it because the lady that initially told me about this was a bit strange. And I thought, anything you're involved with, lady, I don't want to know. And there again, is my humanness making decisions. And anyway, I heard about it years later, 8 years later to be precise, from a guy I knew who was a church treasurer. He was a law lecturer. And I thought, he's not going to get messed up with anything that's not A-OK. So I took a look at it and I drilled down, looked at the company, looked at the company's house and looked at the owners. And I thought, I can't believe that, there can be a company out there who's so honest and ethical. Are they perfect? No, they're not. How people put things right is what matters. So that's it's like a mini franchise. That got me into dabbling my toes in the world of entrepreneurship. Remember, I've come from corporate. I've come from a box that you stay in and you do what you're told and you get paid at the end of the month, whether you're good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
So this to me was like, I have not got a clue what I'm doing. And I've learned from there. And then you walk, you start your journey, you take your footsteps, and other doors open, and other doors open, and other doors open. And I now have about 4 or 5 little businesses
Hmm.
that I can that sustain me, that make me feel I have value in the world, but also give me so many connections. I do quite a lot of networking, and I keep my one to ones. I keep a record of people, what they do, how they can help people, and I connect people A with B, B with C, C with D. So somebody said to me, Heather, you're far more than a safety warehouse. You're a connector of people.
Mm.
And that then got me. Then I saw this delivery guy, and dong, 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 all the little pegs fell into place. Yes, that's my journey now, is helping people find themselves in the world of time freedom and money management. Yeah.
I love it, and it kind of further proves my theory. Many, if not all, of the individuals that I've talked to, and I fit into this category as well, our passions are usually discovered in some level of, whether it be pain, whether it be uh, perceived purpose, or uh, purpose that is obligatory in some level. There's always something that pushes you into that, right? Because the space that I'm in now, as it relates to building relationships, both personally and professionally, that's not, if you told me 15, 16, 18 years ago that's what I would be doing, there's no way I would believe you, right? But based on things that have happened in my experience, based on and I understand 100% in terms of you being a person of faith, there's certain things that once we allow ourselves to be led in some kind of way, we begin to see some things a little bit differently and begin to pay attention to some things that we might have ignored. And so I love that you allowed all of that to bring you to the place now where you are passionate about connecting individuals, passionate about seeing other people discover their purpose as well. Because here's the thing, for those of you who are listening, this life of an entrepreneur is not only about you accomplishing your goal. That's only a part of it. It is also, and maybe more importantly, about you helping somebody else accomplish their goal, right? Because if you think of it as a journey, the life of an entrepreneur, if you liken it, and you listen, folk who love to hear me and who have heard me, don't get upset that you're about to hear me say this again, but I'm going to say it all the time. If you liken it to a car ride, I'm in the United States. If I'm going to drive from the East Coast to the West Coast, here's the thing that you should be doing. Let's say, for example, I'm leaving today to drive from the East Coast to the West Coast. I know that Heather is leaving tomorrow. And I get 4 states over, and there is this huge crater in the highway that has now caused everybody to have to detour or pull over or stay there for the night. Why would I not text Heather, call Heather, and be like, Heather, listen, when you get out to the Midwest, you're going to have to reroute, because if you don't, you're going to lose a bunch of time, because I just ran into this big thing and I had to navigate it this way or that way. That's a very significant part of this entrepreneurial journey, is your ability and willingness to look back, see somebody else that is jumping on this journey, and share with them the ways that they can discover their purpose, their passion, and that they can be persistent about the path. Because I tell everybody, I wrote it in my book, everybody has a purpose, a passion, and a path. They are discoverable with a little persistence. You see, there's a theme today, seems like, right? And I love that. So thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you this. What is the I'm sure there's not one thing, but I'm going to say what is the one thing, but I'm sure there isn't one thing. What's the one thing that you discover on this journey of helping individuals discover their purpose, what's the one thing that you see that hinders them from getting to the point of purpose quicker?
Doubt,
Okay.
doubt, self doubt, and not just self doubt, but doubt that people around them are actually acting with integrity.
Okay.
So lots of suspicion about that. People are so used in our society, and it grieves my heart hugely. People are used to being scammed, or hearing about people being scammed or
Hmm.
being set up for failure. And suspicion and doubt are two of the hugest barriers to people opening up. And I'm not suggesting that, oh, you open up to everybody, because yes, you've got to be careful.
Right.
But, you know, you sit with people and they're like, yeah, you can see it. I mean, whether I'm helping people to find themselves and their passions, or whether I'm trying to help people have more money in their pocket at the end of the month. Again, you know, I've just seen somebody today who's saving a lot of money. Suspicion, it can't be true. You know, there must be a catch.
Mm-hmm.
There must be, you know, you're trying to pull the wool, yeah. And it's society. We shouldn't be like that, you
Yeah,
know.
I agree. I agree. So doubt. Wow. That and interesting you would pick that one because that is, I think, one of the barriers for many people who jump into this life of an entrepreneur. One of the barriers that keeps them from moving from level to level. Because what many of us are not told when we choose this life is that there will be times where things don't look like how you think they're supposed to look.
Yeah,
Like I can think about, that before I jumped into this full time, when I was doing coaching and speaking alongside my corporate job, all I would see is folk that are entrepreneurs and they're doing big things. Their calendar is booked with speaking engagements. They got high profile clients, and all I'm seeing is the wins, the wins, the wins, the wins, the wins, the wins.
yeah,
I'm not seeing any of the process. So now, fast forward, I jump into it full time, and all I'm seeing is process. And I'm like, hey, hold on, where's all these calendar entries? Like, why why is that not happening to me? Right. And then doubt creeps in. And if you allow that doubt to fester, it can cause you to stop in your tracks and not to be persistent, hence
mm,
not being able to discover your purpose. And there's folk in the comments who are all over this with you and I in agreement. I saw George's comment and Barry's comments that I put up on the screen. Brent said there will be setbacks, and knowing that sometimes you have to take two steps back to make three steps forward. I love it. And
yeah.
understanding that there is a process. And I think it's our responsibility, Heather, to share. And I know you do this because this is the type of person you are. I think it's our responsibility to share with individuals the realistic aspects of this journey,
Mm,
and then be able to follow that up with a level of support and guidance that reassures them that even though this is where you are in your part of the process, that your successful navigation of this part leads to your successful navigation of the next part. And I think that's very important. I think that's very important. George is also in the comments said this is the difference between having doubts and asking questions, and doubt that just makes you run. I love it. We got Kanik Mighty Nugent in the house. What's up, Kanik? Kanik says good stuff. And Kanik knows this because Kanik is an entrepreneur, right? As are pretty much everybody that's in the comments, right? So we understanding that there is a process, and navigating that process You have to navigate that process in a way that allows you to get to the next step. And that's the only way that you're going to discover what you need to discover. And I love, Heather, that you are a part of that. Now, here's a great part of that. We're going to segue just a little bit, right? Kanik said, "Yeah, yep, there is a process. There is a process." And here's the thing. What I love and what I'm discovering is that, and I'll be transparent. What I'm discovering on this journey is that we're talking about successful navigation of the process, right? What I'm discovering is that successful navigation of that process involves accountability and community. And we're going to talk about, I didn't ask you this, Heather, but did you do a big fix?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that in a second, but successful navigation of this process involves community and accountability. And just going back to the beginning, this show is brought to you by a place where you can get both of those. Love Entrepreneurs is a place where you can get accountability, where you can be in community, where you can get support, where you can get some things and some guidance and be pushed in a way that allows you to navigate wherever you are in the process successfully so that you can get to the next part of the process. And something that they do in order to do that is called the big fix. We're going to talk about what the big fix is in just a moment. And Heather, what when we come back, I want you to very briefly talk about your experience with the big fix, and then I got some other questions for you. But before we get into that, we're going to hear from my friend Allison Marl. She did a big fix, and we'll talk about what that is when we come back. But let's hear from Allison real quick, and then we'll be right back.
Good morning, all you lovely love entrepreneurs. Just wanted to send a quick video note to thank you all for helping me in my big fix. I found the experience so enriching. Really filled me with, like, my mind was just filled with ideas and thoughts and ideas about where I might go with my business. It was really inspirational to get so many suggestions about things that I didn't even know existed. And just to think about where I'm going to go going forward, what direction to take. So really appreciate it and very grateful for all your input and all that time that you gave to me. So have a lovely day and thanks again. Best of luck.
That was Allison talking about her experience very recently with the big fix. What is the big fix for those who have never heard of it? Let me try to simplify it for you. The big think mastermind where you sit in the hot seat. Here's what happens. Let's say I'm the one who is getting a big fix done. What I will do is I come to the group. I share with them my passion. I share with them my vision for my business. Or maybe I'm not even sure what the vision is. I just share them an idea that I have because I'm just starting out. I share with them, if I'm already in business, some pain points that I have, some challenges that I'm experiencing, some things that I want to see happen that will allow me to move the needle in one way or another. Here's what happens next after I do that. The group begins to ask me questions. They begin to pick apart what I've done, what I've thought about, what I've experienced. And then they go into breakout rooms. The whole goal of the breakout room is for them to come up with solutions that they can share with me that will help me move the needle in one way or another. We come back to the main room and they just begin to pour all of that onto me. Now, I'm feverishly taking notes, but I can't catch it all. So what happens is Larry Koshlet, illustrious leader of Love Entrepreneurs, gives a detailed report to you along with videos of your experience. And then you have one or two options. One, you can take all of that information, you can go forth, implement it, and be great on your own. Or you can jump in with individuals that are part of the team that can help guide you, that can provide business coaching, that can provide any type of digital assets that you need created, or can provide marketing assistance, or can provide whatever came out of that experience. And as you see every week, people who talk about it share how much they were inundated with perspective And that is the beautiful thing about the big fix. Heather, you went through that as well. Talk a little bit about your big fix experience, and then I got maybe one or two questions because I don't want to keep you too long. I got maybe one or two questions left for you after that, and then I'll let you go. But talk about your big fix experience.
Yeah, it must have been, oh gosh, well over 18 months ago now,
Hmm.
maybe even longer. So, yes, it's a little bit nerve wracking because you don't know what's going to be thrown at you. Uh, and I've had all sorts of comments like, well, from other people that I'm encouraging to go through, and well, I don't really need that because why would I speak to somebody outside of my sector who doesn't know what I do? That is exactly what is great about it, because you get objective
Hmm.
views of what you can't see because you're in it. You're
Right.
subjective to the entirety. And yes, you might not like what you hear. Did I like what I heard? Probably not. But I needed to hear it because, as Oliver says, if you want to move the needle, you need to do something.
Hmm.
And if you're doing something that is actually sticking your needle, you need somebody to point that out to you so you can loosen it up and get it moved.
That's right.
Uh, so, yes, it wasn't like I sit down and, oh, this is a nice experience. This is really happy. This is lovely. But yes, it is so, so worthwhile. And it's free.
And yeah, thank you for saying that because I was getting into that next. And Georgia also talked about perspective in her comment just now, and you talked about it as well. Here's the thing that you're right. The beauty of having several people in that group that are from various industries helps to expand your perspective. And this is what I tell people all the time. Here's the thing. So it's not always about changing your mind as much as it is about expanding your perspective. Often we are, and I'm guilty of this. I spend a lot of time in this room that you see me in right now. And so the perspective that I have is very much crafted by the space that's happening, what's happening around me on these three screens and in my head and with the various emails that I have and that kind of thing. But to get in a space where some people are outside of that and hear what they have to say, it's not so much that it may change my mind as much as it is expand my perspective. And here's the thing, my perspective, my approach is very closely aligned to my perspective. So if I don't like the results of my approach, I need to go all the way back to my perspective. And if I need my perspective to be expanded in a way that allows me to tweak my approach to get the results that I'm looking for, who would not want to do that? And the big fix is a way to do that, and it is free. It is absolutely free. There is no catch. And I was honest. The options you have are you can take that report that you get from Larry. You can do everything on your own. Go off, be great, move the needle on your own. But there is an option to work with business coaches, to work with tech coaches, to work with digital asset providers, to work with individuals who can help you move the needle. And here's what I didn't mention. We're going to do a whole show on this one day. But there's also a way to do that without paying for it, because you can also be a member of Silvertree, and Silvertree has its own internal currency for those that are a part of that environment as well. So it's good to have community. I'm loving that you gave. I love the honest feedback because yes, sitting in the hot seat can sometimes feel it can be daunting. The information that you get back, especially if it happens to be a big group that day, the
Mhm.
information you can get back can be like drinking from the fire hose because you're like, hey, stop, okay, stop it. That's enough suggestions for today, you know. But it's so worthwhile for you to expand your perspective. So for those of you who might be interested in doing this, you can see me anywhere that you see this video being aired. You can reach out to me. Just say, hey, listen. Matter of fact, don't even get in the hot seat. Just reach out to me and say, hey, listen, Oliver, I'd love to just sit in. Say, I'd love to just sit in and listen and maybe share a suggestion or two before I do that. Reach out to me and you can do that. Silver Tree information, more information, please. I will reach out to you on LinkedIn. I'll get with you today on LinkedIn, and we'll talk about Silver Tree as well. We're going to do a whole show on that. I'm going to have Illyria on here to talk about Silver Tree. So thank you for sharing that. Again, if you want to be involved in the Big Fix in any way, if you want to be in the hot seat or you just want to be an observer, please reach out to me. I'll get you in that information. The Big Fix happens every Wednesday and every Thursday. So there are opportunities for you every week to experience that, be a part of it, observe, and or get in the hot seat. So, all right, let's get back to Heather. Heather, I got two things I want you to do before I let you go. One is I want you to share a piece of advice for the person who is on the fence about getting into this life of an entrepreneur. And then I want you to share some advice for the person who is already on this path and wants to move the needle in one way or another. So those are two groups of people. The person who's on the fence, I think I want to jump in the water. I think. And for the person who's already there and is trying to move the needle.
Right. Probably for the first person, and I have spoken to people in that exact situation, write down what is good about where you are at the moment and write down another list of what your dreams and goals are. So what is good about where you are? And then what is not good about where you are? What is frustrating? What's irksome? What you're not comfortable with? And then look at the difference. Look at where you're wanting to move to. How are you going to get there? If you don't change anything, nothing's going to change. And then you need to be realistic. You need to ask yourself, am I prepared to take the risk that's involved to jump over that fence? Are you resilient enough? And we're back to the persistence again. We're back to the grit. You need to be true to yourself. Can I have that grit? There is a book called, oh gosh, what's it called? The Consistency Chain. Again, if you're going to look into the life of an entrepreneur, read the Consistency Chain. In it, there's a chart that you can actually mark off. You can identify 2 or 3 or however many. I started off being the perfectionist that I am. I'll write 10 things I want to do every day. Don't do that. I cut it down to 3 eventually. So 1 life, 1 business, and 1 whatever else it was. Do those every single day. Tiny little task, but every day, and mark it on this chart. It's an encouragement. What you see visually is far greater impact on your brain than what you hear. So mark it on this chart. You'll see the chain go up. You don't do it one day. Oh, okay. You don't do it another day, and you'll get back on track. You'll work yourself back on track. So, but first of all, you need to say, can I be that person with grit, determination, resilience? Because if you can't and don't want to make the sacrifice of determination that's needed, then just stay in your day job, stay in your 9 to 5, stay in your, well, no, you can't have holiday today, next week, next month. You can't go to the doctor, you can't go to the dentist. So if you want that time freedom, can you move that risk adverse nature to let's just loosen up? Is it easy? No. Is it worth it? Yes. And like Oliver said, people don't tell you about the hard days. Well, I'm telling you about the hard days. There are hard days. There are days that I want to give up and I think, oh, put your feet on the floor, get up, do some star jumps, and just be here a year from now. Yeah. just resilience. The other one was what was the other one?
The other one is for which actually this what you said kind of works, but it's for the other group of people who are already in this. We're
Yeah,
neck deep in it, and we
yeah,
want to move the needle in one way or another.
yeah. So again, it's down to accountability. I think is what you was mentioned earlier. Don't be an island. You know, we're built for community. We're human beings. We need each other. But don't be accountable to anybody. You need to be accountable to somebody who's that little bit ahead of you. So somebody who's walked your walk that can, be honorably accountable to,
Hmm.
uh, and be honest. Because if you're not honest, get an accountability buddy, but be honest.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, well, you might as well just, I don't know, melt chocolate. So, yeah, yeah. And that it's not that person's not going to move the needle, but just by opening up and sharing your glitches,
Hmm.
because we all have them, that's where you'll find the breakthrough. Don't be a problem focused person, be solution focused. Mindset, and positivity, but I don't mean, oh, everything's fine, everything's rosy. I don't mean, that kind of positive, but be solution focused because that is positive. I have found in my journey that every problem has a solution sitting there. You just need to open your eyes and see it. But if you're going around with your blinkers on thinking, oh, woe is me, this is terrible, you're never going to see that solution.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. Listen, that's good. And for those of you in the comments, I saw the comments. Would love to learn. Would love to know more. Kanik said, "I've never heard of the Big Fix." Listen, I will reach out to you guys. I will connect with you. The Big Fix is a phenomenal concept. Yes, it is. It's very, very phenomenal concept. It's literally it's literally a chance for you to share where you are, where you want to be, and have individuals pour into you ideas and solutions and tips and strategies that have worked for them and things they think might work for you. Right. And what the beauty of it is that even the people who aren't in the hot seat also benefit because I've been in many big fixes. I've only been in the hot seat twice, but I've been in many big fixes. I go every week. And every week I'm like, oh, you know what? I should yeah, I should probably do that too. you know, I get the same thing. So everybody wins in that. And then also I will make sure that you get more information about that and about Silver Tree. Georgia said there's always action that you can take, and that is true. There's always action that you can take. Listen, Heather, I would like to keep you, but I know you got to get ready to travel. I know that the family's going through bereavement time right now. Again, condolences to you as well. I want to thank you for your time, taking out time to talk with me today. That means a lot. I'm very grateful for you doing so. I'm going to let you go, but I got one more thing. I promise this is the last thing. Let us know how we can connect with you.
Well, my LinkedIn, I think I've put, yeah, did I put it all? You've got my LinkedIn, haven't you?
Yeah, so those of you who are watching on LinkedIn, you can just connect with her right there through the LinkedIn post because you'll see it there.
Yeah, and I put in what did I put in? I put in at the
I
beginning.
got a couple things.
Yeah,
I got your email, so you can email Heather,
and Facebook as well.
and you
Facebook.
can give Heather a call. If you just look up her name, Heather Petty, you're going to come up with some ways to get in
And
contact.
I'm on Facebook with, well, my family picture, but also I've got a mocktail. My daughter and I in the garden with a mocktail and I smile. So
Nice,
you can't miss that. It
nice, good
looks
stuff.
pretty genuine.
Good stuff. Georgia said, excuse me. Georgia said, thank you for both. Thank you both for sharing and caring. Georgia, thank you for being here. Shout out to everybody that's in the comments as well. Heather, listen, can you stick around for just a moment?
Yep. Yep.
I'm gonna finish the show and I'm gonna come back and just talk to you just for a brief moment once the show is done. All right. But again, thank you. Thank you for being a part of this, and I'll talk to you in just a moment, okay? All right, that was Heather Petty. And thank you to Heather for being here. As you can see, the resiliency piece, and listen, Heather and I did not talk before this. So the resiliency piece is, I'm gonna just go ahead and say it's a God thing, right? Because I'm a man of faith. So that for me to talk about resiliency in my monologue and then have Heather come on and talk about it as well, that means that there's a message in there for somebody that you need to keep going. And if you need support to keep going, you need support to find the purpose that will allow you to keep going. Heather is the person that you want to contact about that. If you want to get in community, which you should want to get in community, because that can also push you to be resilient because you got folk around you that you can be accountable to. You got folk around you who are willing to support you. You probably want to think about getting into a group like Love Entrepreneurs, which is a group of people that are literally in place to help ordinary people build extraordinary businesses. You can get your big fix done there. You can network with individuals from every industry. There's also a way for you to do business with these individuals and not necessarily have to come out of pocket 100% cash. That's a whole nother story we're going to talk about soon. But I want to leave you with this. You got to be resilient. You have to be resilient. You must be resilient. Is there any other way that I can say that? Barry said, great show. Yes, resiliency is key. Make sure that you are reaching out to Heather. Make sure you're reaching out to everybody in the comments. Thank you to Barry and Georgia and Kanik and Saya and Kakanksha and Brent, and I might have forgotten some other people. Everybody who was in the comments, then, and Lenore, you're not supposed to just read the comments and be like, oh, nice comment. That's an opportunity for you to build community by reaching out to those individuals. You never know what you may find out. Commonalities, opportunities for collaboration, building community. Those are important. And those are important to every entrepreneur. Because in this life of an entrepreneur, it is a journey. We are on a journey, and why would you not want to be on a journey with other people who are on the journey with you? Not only on the journey with you, but that are concerned about your level of process and progress on that journey. So here we have it, man. This was a great episode. Thank you for being here. If this is your first time, again, I am your host, Oliver Marcel, author, speaker, and coach in the relationship building and men's enrichment spaces. I am so glad that you took out this time to be with us for this episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. We'll see you next week.